Hello friends, welcome to Kamath Astrology. In today's video, I will talk about a unique yoga which I have seen in many charts. In fact, it is actually not a yoga. It is a kind of dosh and that is called as Shakata yoga. Now in this video, we will try to gain a deeper understanding of what exactly is this yoga and what past life karmas can result in the occurrence of this yoga in the birth chart. Now, the classics say there are two combinations when this yoga is formed. First combination is when all the planets, including the ascendant, are placed in the first house and the seventh house of the horoscope. That is when Shakata yoga is formed. Very rarely you get to see such charts. The second combination when Shakata yoga is formed is more common and I will explain that in this video. Now have a look at the chart on the screen. Whenever Jupiter is placed 6th, 8th or 12th from the moon in your birth chart, that birth chart has Shakata yoga. For example, in the chart which you see on the screen, the moon at the time of birth is placed in the sign of Capricorn or Makar. Hence the person is born with Makar Rashi or Capricorn ascendant. Now if Jupiter or Guru is placed in the sign of Gemini, which is 6th from the natal moon, or Jupiter is placed in the sign of Leo, which is 8th from the natal moon, or Jupiter is placed in its own sign of Sagittarius, in this case, which is 12th from the natal moon, then in the native's chart, there is something called as Shakata yoga. Now I have used Makar Rashi as an example. You can extrapolate this to any other moon sign. Now what exactly does the word Shakata refer to? Shakata refers to a carriage or a cart wheel. Now in the olden times, people used to travel on carriages and the roads were not well maintained. So the journey used to be a very rough ride which used to cause pain in the bones and in the body. Now a carriage has four wheels. The roads were not properly maintained. There were a lot of potholes and therefore this journey was a very tough journey. Just like the wheel of the carriage or the cartwheel constantly fluctuates, any person who has this yoga in his horoscope, his whole life will fluctuate like a cartwheel. When everything is going good, suddenly something terribly bad happens and the person loses his good fortune. And then suddenly when everything seems to be going downwards, suddenly something good happens, the person regains his good fortune. And this cycle continues very often in his life. So there is a lack of stability in the person's life. Now to cite some examples which I have seen. Initially say the person leads a very good life in his childhood, but when he gets married, say suddenly he loses his job or he gets transferred to a very distant place and then problems start happening in his life. Now when everything is going very bad and a person feels that life is no longer meaningful, suddenly something good happens and slowly he regains his fortune. Another example is, say a person is appearing for the IAS exam. He does very well in the prelims, in the preliminary exams, but in the main competitive exam, suddenly he falls ill and he is not able to do well. Now the person loses all hope. He feels that it is the end of road for him. He is completely depressed. But surprisingly, some new, better opportunity comes all of a sudden. So this is how the Shakata yoga works. Basically, your life fluctuates like a cartwheel. The events in your life create a lack of stability. One more thing that often happens is that the good people in your life slowly start moving away from you because of this bad yoga. Often, this yoga will give you lesser number of good relatives, or if you have good relatives also, slowly some kind of fight or friction will happen which will take you away from them. Now let us understand why this yoga occurs in certain charts. What was the past life karma? Now what is the moon actually? The moon is our mind, it is our emotions, it is our feelings, it is also our nourishment. The way we have been nurtured by our parents or mother in our childhood, that is also seen through the moon. Now whenever the moon is involved in any bad yoga, the natural effect of that is a lot of mental stress, situations such as depression. You feel a lack of happiness and a lack of stability. Now, if the moon is in Capricorn, Capricorn is all about power and status. So, the person's status in society, the person's power, the person's thought constantly fluctuate. There is no stability and peace of mind. On the other hand, what is Jupiter? Jupiter is divine knowledge. Jupiter is a guru, a teacher. Jupiter is higher education, higher wisdom. Jupiter is the karka for auspiciousness, happiness, and all good things in your life, including wealth and financial stability. Now let us take the first case where Jupiter is sixth from the natal moon. In this example, let us take the Jupiter who is placed in the sign of Gemini, which is sixth from the sign of Capricorn where the moon is placed. Now what is the sixth house all about? The sixth house is known as the house of Prarabdha, that is fixed fate. It cannot be changed. It is also the house which shows enemies, conflicts, diseases, your daily routine. It is also the house which shows the kind of service you do to society. So now why did this native get Jupiter in the sixth house from the moon? Let us understand that. Usually, it is better to have malefic planets in the sixth house. Why? Because the sixth house is the house of competition. It is the house of enemies. It is the house of debts, diseases. And malefics here give you the power to overcome debts and diseases. Malefics in the sixth house will give you the power to overcome competition, destroy enemies, destroy debts. But that does not mean they will not give you enemies or conflicts or debts. You will have them, but with that you will also get the power to destroy those negative things. But let us say a noble planet or a good person such as Jupiter is placed in the sixth house, and let us say Jupiter is given the role of a guard to protect valuables. Now Jupiter is very noble by nature, so when a thief approaches him and tells him, I want to take a little of that money to help my family, Jupiter will easily give in. He will not stop the thief. And therefore, what happens by the placement of Jupiter in the sixth house is that people take undue advantage of that person, and because of that, the person suffers in life. So when Jupiter is sixth from the natal moon, the Shakat Yoga causes the person to suffer because his colleagues, his best friends start taking advantage of him and they exploit him, and he allows himself to be exploited. Now, the bigger question is, why is this placement there in his chart? In his past life, he has done a karma where he has exploited a person in extreme need. Let us take this to be the case of a doctor who has a particular kind of medicine that can cure a very critical disease. Now, when the patient approaches him, Instead of charging the market rate, the doctor tries to exploit that patient. He charges a very high rate. The patient has no option but to give in. The patient gives the money. Now the doctor has earned the karma of getting a Shakat Yog in his next life. Because you exploited someone who was in extreme need in your past life, in this life, people are taking undue advantage of you. So this is how the Shakat Yog, which is sixth from the natal moon, that is Jupiter placed sixth from your natal moon, operates. Now such a person can easily get troubled by enemies, conflicts, diseases, debts. His own people, his own best friends will cause problems for him. His own good nature will create problems for him. Now what happens when Jupiter is 8th from the natal moon? In this case, Jupiter is in the sign of Leo when the natal moon is in the sign of Capricorn. So Jupiter is 8th from the natal moon. Now what is the 8th house all about? The 8th house is about suppression. It is about accidents. It is about occult science. It is about inheritance. It is about in-laws. It is about hidden things, secrets. The moon, as I mentioned earlier, is about emotions, mind, feelings, nurturing. So when Jupiter is 8th from the natal moon, the good people in the person's life slowly start moving away from him. Why? Because Jupiter is auspiciousness. Jupiter represents good people. And 8th house from the natal moon represents suppression. So slowly some conflicts happen in your life which will move away the relatives, the good people in your life away from you. Slowly this happens, but those people slowly start moving away from you, is what I have observed in almost all the charts. Now here the person may feel that he has a very long life, but it is not so. His life can be marred by chronic diseases in his old age. So here this yoga can cause separation from close relatives such as brother, sister, father and mother also. Usually a lady in the family will be the result for this problem. That is, she can cause the relatives to move away from you. This lady can be a mother-like figure, she can be an aunt or someone very close to you who will cause the relations in your life to move away from you. Now, why has this happened in this life? Now, Jupiter is a guru, Jupiter is a teacher. 8th house is also about occult science. So, in the past life, it shows a karma where you could have misused your occult knowledge, say the knowledge of astrology, to take advantage of others. Whenever an astrologer cheats someone, he has to bear a portion of that karma. It comes back to him and it can reflect as Shakat Yoga in the horoscope. Jupiter in the 8th house shows the person had good occult knowledge in his past life. This could be tantric knowledge, this could be knowledge related to astrology, or this could even be the knowledge related to a teacher. But this teacher exploited his students, exploited his clients, and therefore this yoga has now come back to haunt him in some form or the other. And slowly it separates the close ones, the relatives from that person. Another reason for this could also be that the person has exploited the wealth of deities or temples. Remember that the 8th house is 12th from the 9th house. And therefore, this represents expenses involved in a temple or on a deity. And when a person misappropriates the money that is to be used for a temple or a deity, the consequences manifest in the next life in the form of Shakat Yoga. Even stealing flowers from a temple premise for a very long period can result in Shakat Yog because those flowers were supposed to be used for the service of the deity, but you have stolen them. So that can also create Shakat Yog. So this is how the 8th house Shakat Yog manifests. That is the 8th from the moon, where Jupiter is placed 8th from the moon. Now let us look at the last case where Jupiter is placed 12th from the natal moon. In this case, in the sign of Sagittarius or Dhanu, which is Jupiter's own sign. Now, what is the 12th house all about? The 12th house, as we know, is about isolation, it is about expenses, it is about losses, it is about foreign culture, foreign people, foreign lands, distant lands. Now, when Jupiter is in the 12th house, it generally gives you a lot of foreign journeys, foreign travels, but with it comes a lot of expenses. Your financial expenses can go beyond a certain limit, and that can stress you terribly. The 12th house Jupiter can, in the later stages of life, pull you into isolation, into isolated places such as monasteries, or make you feel very lonely in life. You have everything, but there is a complete sense of dissatisfaction. So, with this kind of placement, where Jupiter is 12th from the natal moon, the Shakat Yog can manifest in the form of thefts in the person's life, losses due to robbery, stealing, thefts, because the person is not careful with his valuables, with his own money, and therefore people exploit that aspect of this person. His financial expenses will trouble him a lot. Now, why is this so? Because in the past life, the person has been involved in stealing somebody else's wealth, in causing loss to other people, and therefore in this life it manifests in the form of mental tension, financial expenses, and losses due to theft. So, does that mean that every person who has this Shakat Yog will suffer in life? Jawaharlal Nehru also had Shakat Yog, but you can see his lifestyle. It was wonderful, like he was not a poor person. Now, the Shakat Yoga is said to get cancelled if the moon is placed in a Kendra from the ascendant or the Lagna. That is, if the moon is placed in 1, 4, 7 or 10 from the Lagna, the Shakat Yoga is said to get cancelled, or the bad effects of the Shakat Yoga are said to reduce to a large extent. Now, why does this happen? Because in the past life, the person has done these mistakes which I mentioned earlier. But in the same life, he repented a lot, and then he started donating his money to helping the poor people, to helping charitable organizations. He started donating his money to charity, and therefore the bad effects of the Shakat Yoga get reduced or cancelled to a large extent in this life. Now, the last question that you will have is, what is the remedy if somebody has Shakat Yoga in his chart? The remedy is not very complicated. Fast on Monday and Thursday, the days of Chandra and Guru. Second thing is, on Mondays, worship goddess Parvati or goddess Gauri, who is the ruling deity of the moon. And on Thursdays, worship Lord Shiva. Once you start doing this on a regular basis, you will find the malefic effects of the Shakat Yoga slowly start reducing in your life. Now let me talk about the first kind of Shakat Yoga which I mentioned, where all the planets are placed in the first house and the seventh house, including the ascendant. In that case, the Shakat Yoga manifests in the form of health issues for the native. In that case, either the health of the native or the married life and partnerships the native is involved in become extremely challenging and difficult to handle. The remedy is still the same which I mentioned earlier. So friends, this is a short video on what is Shakat Yoga, why it occurs, what is the past life karma, and how you can do remedies to reduce the bad effects of this yoga. So friends, if you like this video, please mark it as liked on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to our channel, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button. For any queries, please write to us at astrosevaworld@yahoo.com and we'll be glad to assist you. You can also visit our website astroseva.tripod.com. So friends, thanks a lot. Bye. Take care and stay safe.